But right now, we're jumping into a topic which is a bit of a hit or miss one for the college grads out there in your life. Of course, it's a tough job environment to be graduating into right now with the highest unemployment rate we've seen in decades. But when you look at what you can do to make things go well if you do have a job, the question becomes, how do you blend into an office and stand out if you're working from home? For more on that, we're joined by Wall Street Journal wealth reporter and Wall Street Journal's Secrets of Wealthy Women podcast host, Veronica Dagher, joins us now. Veronica, thanks again for joining us. It's no easy task here, I don't think, to stand out if you can't actually physically meet your coworkers, your boss. So what advice are you giving new college grads?
So to fit into this virtual workforce, it's a little tricky, as you said, but there are a few things you can do to fit in. For example, some of the basic things like set up a place that is comfortable for you to work, that is nice and quiet, that is well lit, that you can have virtual meetings and not be embarrassed about what's in the background of your screen, for example. That's one way to strike a professional tone at this new job.
Yeah, I guess the other thing too is you mentioned fitting in. Culture is obviously tough to get a sense of when you're starting in a place if you're not actually in an office. So how do you recommend maybe intermingling with coworkers and how you actually make that work if you're starting out on day one?
Yeah, so that's also tricky because there's no water cooler to meet your coworkers at. So you could get to know them in informal ways. For example, you could set up virtual coffees, get on someone's calendar for 15 minutes here and there to connect with them that way. Another way is to join, there's some really fun Slack channels. For example, I'm on a dog a day Slack channel at work, and that helps me meet coworkers in a fun and more casual way. Another thing is to get familiar with people's LinkedIn profiles, not in like a stalky way, but kind of check out their background, see where they went to school, see what their interests and their hobbies, what are their charitable activities. And that's another way you can kind of connect with them in a more casual way. And it can be a conversation starter to create some of those relationships.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's been a while since I entered the workforce, but when I think about maybe the toughest thing that might present itself out there is kind of managing expectations. If you haven't met your boss, don't really know what the real world's like if you're just graduating from college. What are recommendations on maybe managing expectations, making sure that you're actually performing and hopefully outperforming?
Yes, it's tricky. So very early on, communicate with your boss. Have those conversations about what they expect from you. For example, how often do they want to hear from you? How do they want to hear from you? Do they want you to G-chat them every morning, for example? Do they want a video call with you every day, once a week? Do they prefer email? Do they prefer Slack, for example? Set also short and long-term goals with your manager because you want to make sure you're helping them advance their goals. Of course, you want to achieve what you want to achieve, but you want to make sure you're in line with their priorities early on. You also want to make sure you know what decisions you can make on your own and what kind of decisions you need their approval for. That's not something you want to do on a trial and error basis, especially in a virtual environment when you can't have a conversation in person to get a sense of that person's body language and what's really priority to them.
Yeah, it's so tough out there. So hard to go through 4 years of school, get out, graduate into a tough environment, now have to work at being good at work. It's all harder out there for the class of 2020. But Veronica Dagher from the Wall Street Journal, appreciate you sharing the tips for a lot of those grads out there to keep in mind.
Thanks for having me, Zach.
All right, always appreciate it.